Welcome to the podcast of School Beyond Limitations. In this podcast, you will learn how to guide your child through their school life with the intention to help them find their unique essence that will allow your daughter, your son to live a fulfilled and meaningful life. Hello everyone. Today we have a conversation with, again, Nayeef Khan, an alumni of School Beyond Limitations, and myself. And we often, during our conversations, we have lots of philosophical questions that arise. And today we would like to talk about the online schooling and how important it will become in the future, even more, because we are undergoing lots of different challenges at the moment. And just before we started this conversation, Nayeef told me about the situation in his own country and how the current, geopolitical situation impacts also the education system. So Nayeef, if you would be so kind to share what you just shared with me before, that would be great. Thank you.
Yes, hello everyone. As Martina said, the current geopolitical situation is impacting and affecting people and countries all around the world, right? And it has certainly affected a developing nation like Bangladesh, which is reliant on the Middle Eastern oil to come in. Because of the crisis, some of it is natural and some of it is of the syndicates. It's a big problem. Um, it has impacted people's lives and their lifestyles. And a big part of the educational shift was influenced by the prices of oil because the transportation is almost nowhere to be found for students to use a vehicle and go to their school. So the government decided that it would offer 3 days of of online sessions and 2 days of physical sessions for the students to attend school and get their education going and moving, and not put a stop to it because of the transportation. And this is a reality that I'm not saying that it's going to stay like this forever or for a very long time, but at least in the next few years or maybe in the next decade, we're going to face this problem. And as it started from a developing nation like Bangladesh, I think it's certainly going to shift and move towards all the other developed nations where people will suffer from the shortage of oil and there will be a crisis and there has to be a shift in how we lead our life. Like, 2020, like during COVID, it has taught us to live a completely different lifestyle. And this shift, it's not only an economic shift, but it's a shift of lifestyle. And we have to adapt to it as soon as possible. Because of this, we cannot put a stop to what we do, especially stop to education. And thanks to technology and thanks to all these, online and internet, which has given us access to all the information. And this is exactly what SBL has been telling us. I mean, we do have all the knowledge, all the information out there on the internet. So we better just use the tools for the betterment of humanity, and then also lead a different, a very balanced lifestyle of our online and real life. And I think this crisis has just exactly shown us that in my country. Right, and why this is important? Yeah, Martina.
No, I just wanted to say, fact is that the SBL, School Beyond Limitation, has been created, now nearly 9 years ago, over decades of research and experience and practice and so forth, without, the understanding that maybe in the future this is needed, but it was already clear that, the internet was about to give us a lot of new opportunities, and it was created in the first place to really give a different and more humane education, holistic education, especially for those families and students who are traveling, who are constantly in this situation of changing, and who don't feel themselves seen in a conventional school. But then there came COVID, and COVID also, invited everyone to rethink education. And now there is another crisis who invites us yet again to rethink education, because now we are even, in those 9 years, ever since we have created school beyond limitations, the development has become so rapid, so fast. The artificial intelligence was not at that point where it is now. And there's lots on offer out there. But what we are saying at School Beyond Limitations, it's also important. And I just had a conversation yesterday also with one of our students, and I asked her, I said, couldn't we actually abolish school whatsoever, because artificial intelligence is giving you everything. And this student also then said to me, no, of course there are tools out there, but the humane and the personalized approach makes the big difference. And I think this shift into looking at education, what is meant to be, and also that education doesn't have to happen only in one physical building, is something that is put in front of us through what's happening right now. Because if I can't travel anymore from one place to the next place, and there is a shortage, and I know, whether this is the workplace, whether this is school, I can still connect with my coworkers, I can still connect with my class. That allows for young people really to receive education, but also to put it on a foundation of collaboration and co-creation. So yes, I also think this is an invitation now for us to see that online education, if it's really focusing on the student, not on standardizing everything. Of course, certain things can be standardized, don't get me wrong, but the student needs to have an interface which is a human interface, so that they can really develop. And that's, I think that we need to look at that aspect more and more. What do you think, Naif?
No, yeah, absolutely. And remember what happened after the COVID and when people were invited to do everything online, work from home, and this whole online culture has created so many freelancers. I mean, that's a term that we have only been using excessively in the last few years, in the last 5 or 6 years, right? And freelancing is a huge market now where people work from home, they work for different companies, they're not binded to a company, and then people hire from all around the world just because of their core skills. Of course, majority of them are online, like editing or doing something like that. But I think this marketplace is increasing, and it keeps increasing, and it's going to increase even more now because people are again staying at home, and they're just facing a harsh reality. But whatever it may be, I mean, there will always has to be something that comes out of it, and I think this is exactly where we are heading now. So it's better that we do have this balance and adaptability and the understanding of change and shift, which is happening in the world. And yeah, I mean, there will be always some scopes and opportunities to come out of it, and we just have to find what that exactly is and what it brings to the table. And for that, it requires constant practice. I mean, I cannot just shift from going to school every day and sitting on a desk to just sitting on my own chair and then going school online, right? I will have to have certain practices and certain adaptability skills. And I think this is exactly why SBL or other online institutions around the world have been inviting people to constantly find a balance in life. I mean, when we say that we are used to conventional settings, it's good that we are. It disciplines us, but then again, we have to understand how the online and the digital world works. The digital footprints do play a big role in how, and it shapes how, and it influences how we think and what we do. And someone who is so much into the digital world, they will also have to experience the real world in order to understand what the real world is offering. So this right balance, I think, once we practice that through a formal setting, I mean, we can practice obviously on our own, sitting at home, doing learning, but I think when it's under an official setting, it becomes easier and it becomes constant. I think it just makes our perspectives a bit different, and we can adapt ourselves to any reality that comes along our way and find the best possibility. And a
I
school
really,
like SBL.
yeah, I really believe there is a big difference, between just working on an online course, by yourself, completely by yourself, and walking through everything by yourself without exposure to other people. And an institution that that really cultivates this coming together as if you were together in a real classroom setting, because that allows for you to also connect with people from different countries. That allows you to really understand that there are different perspectives, different understandings with regards to lots of different things, different backgrounds, and that allows for people also to develop, their way of opening up towards many perspectives, and yet being able to find themselves within themselves, right? If I don't have this interface, this constant interface, if I'm just doing it by myself all the time, and I'm not saying this is not possible sometimes, but this interaction with other people is extremely important in my view, because this is also a skill that we learn. This one of the skills that also companies and society looks for, communication skills, understanding, empathy, co-creating, creating something new out of what's already there, and active listening so that I'm present. And that's not doable if I'm just sitting on my own at home constantly. And I think this is something you mentioned before. There is real life and there is digital life. I think we are now, and we call this also the on life situation. This is intertwined, right? So digital and real is needs to talk to one another. There needs to be a balance between the two, and this is certainly much more encouraged to be done if there is a setting that is together with, in partnership with parents, helping the student understand. Don't just sit at home, go out and make the difference in your context. Yeah, so I think we need to be very careful by saying, everything online is perfect. It is good as long as there is balance and as the person still feels connected, because we are, at the end of the day, we are social beings, and the social aspect can't be neglected. And if that's neglected in the long run, then we enter this kind of problems, that challenges that we are facing right now, where people just sit behind their screens all day long, all night long, don't have any healthy sleeping patterns anymore, are overly tired during the day, and can't really interact anymore. And I think what we can certainly say, online schooling, if done, from an approach of integrating all the aspects that make us the human being that we are, teaches and educates us in that direction. That's our mission. I think that needs to be our mission, in order for students to say, then, I love coming to school, I love coming to this context, because this context enriches me, inspires me, brings me forward, opens up for me new pathways, new ideas, new inspirations, because only in the interaction with what I see also coming from other people, my horizon will grow. Otherwise, it will stay constantly in my own bubble. And therefore, yeah, I think online schooling has still this kind of stigma. It's only online, but it can be done in a very, powerful way, where education comes, can be put on a foundation of integration of it all.
No, online schooling will stay as a stigma if the schooling purpose is not to serve the students, but to take off what they need to do in order to pass in school, right? I mean, look, we have the online schooling during COVID because of a circumstance. It's not like they wanted to serve students and give it a balance of online and real life, and they had all these greater understandings. It was just because of a circumstance they had to offer online schools so that students could say at the end of the day, and their parents, that, oh, okay, I have to do maths. I did maths online. I've taken certain courses, and it would then be graded for me to get to the next grade or get to uni or get a job, right? Whereas SBL, I mean, the perspective and understanding is a bit different. It's to really offer and serve the students. But also, I mean, you said about the interaction skills and how important it is. It is important, but it is also one of the most neglected and also one of the most lost skills in the 21st century because, once again, of the online life. So the right balance of online, right? People on when they are in front of the screen, they're dependent on consumptions. So you consume a lot of the things. Even if you do maths, even if you do English or whatever it may be, it's still the computer offering you information, you're consuming it. So there's not much of a space for you to generate ideas or to interact or to get engaged with what you're doing, unless, of course, it's an interactive session or something like that. And this is exactly what SBL is bringing. It's not putting a stop to what you would have done at a regular school. It's just saying that the setting is a bit different so that you get used to it and you can still be productive online. We do have this understanding. I don't know where this comes from that, oh, you can do anything productive online. When you go online, it's just that for your own safety or for your own leisure time or something like that. But honestly, since COVID, we've seen how much the online world and the digital world has created many income opportunities for people around the world, and they're earning good. It's not like it's just some pocket money. They're earning and they're living off of that. So there are opportunities online. We just have to see it from that direction and angle. And to see it, we have to experience it. And this is exactly what SBO is bringing. It's
Yeah.
like we can be productive no matter where we are and how we are, as long as there is a clear understanding of what we're doing. So
Yeah, exactly. And Naive, I think what you mentioned before is very attractive to me because you mentioned, the engagement, the participation part, because that's key. And in order to give a little bit of a context around that, we a few weeks ago we had an inset day with all our teachers with an outside workshop leader. And this workshop leader gave us feedback afterwards, and she said, I was also present, of course, as the head of school and the designer of School Beyond Limitations. And she said, I have never come across, a school where everyone interacts so much, where everyone is present, where everyone actually listens to one another, where everyone is really wholeheartedly keen in seeing what can evolve out of this collaboration. She's been working all over the world, and she said what she has encountered when she held online sessions with lots of different countries. I don't want to even name them, cameras off, no engagement, she entertaining the crowd and just lecturing, people just transcribing. And that was what she experienced. And with SPL facilitators, it was so different. And she said it was so refreshing to see. And this is what we also implement with our students, right? We invite them to keep their cameras on so that they see whether it's working all the time. That's a different pair of shoes. But then we constantly follow up and find out what is the reason for that. Because if I'm not, seen, then it's not a classroom context. And I think there is a big difference between certain online offerings and what we are doing. And as I mentioned before, we are really encouraging the students to see, even if I'm on screen, but this is still a context where I need to be seen, where I want to engage, where I want to contribute, where I want to be part of the beauty of growing together, because we actually say we shape our future together, we grow together, we co-create. It's organically co-created, so it's not standardized. Each week is a different week, each day is a different, with of course great foundations, but we go with what is there. And of course at the same time I need to ensure that the students, individually in a personalized way, can move on at their pace. Yeah, and I think that's something to be really underlined, that engagement can be achieved through online learning also, you
And
know.
the word entertainment, I mean, you said about that word entertainment. You see, for most schools, whether conventional, whether online, or even just the digital world itself, it's heavily on entertaining the consumer, right? It's heavily on videos entertaining the consumers or teachers or facilitators entertaining the students so that they don't leave the school or they stick to their education. But at SBL, I mean, the students themselves create the entertainment to keep a moment and to engage. And this is the only difference is that they're not consumers, they're generators.
Yeah.
And it's a balance of both listening and giving. So this interactive sessions are, I mean, I don't know whether it's common around the world. I certainly haven't seen much of it, but I think these are the core skills that eventually and ultimately will stick with any students if they want to learn, grow, and mature, because that's when you have the foundations, your knowledge, your understanding of academics. But then again, you have the life skills that would allow you to use those skills. Most people just go through schools and learns and has all the knowledge in the world, but because of the lack of certain skills, they can't express themselves well enough, or they cannot fit themselves or find themselves like they belong to a certain community or to a certain environment. It's only because they feel different about themselves. It's only because they don't feel confident enough. And these soft skills are ultimately the ones that keeps you alive in a community or at an environment, right? Even if you know a bit less, but to have those skills just gets you fit in and you move and you grow.
And Naive, to come to shortly to an end, because I'm aware that we've been talking about this online situation, and we started from Bangladesh and the geopolitical situation that encourages us now, invites us to look at the online schooling again from a different angle. I would like to ask you, as a former student of SBL and still very much involved in what we are doing at School Beyond Limitations, what would you say would happen if many students out there in the world were to be able to, experience a school like School Beyond Limitations, where this is at the core of what we are doing? What would you say would happen?
We have a lot more change makers who don't only keep it theoretical, but they practice it. We have a lot of practitioner at SBL. Anybody that wants to do something comes out of the school and actually does it. I mean, it's not very theoretical based. I remember, I mean, all of us who had gone to conventional schools, we would always have on English or on our own native language subject a part where we would be asked to write what we wanted to be when we grow up, right? Or what we want to be when in the future. And I'm sure a lot of us wrote so many lies that we want to do this, we want to do that, even if we did not want to be doing that, right? Just so that we would fit into the standard expectations of people. But as BL, I mean, you have the safe space to be whoever you want to be, truly. And as I said, as I constantly mentioned in a previous podcast as well, SBL gives the understanding of what is your purpose, and from a very young age. And that's why we're very assured of what we want to be. We are honest with ourselves, we are honest with the people, and we take necessary steps accordingly. So I think if the whole world would have access to SBL and it's kind of the structure, then people are in the world would get so many gifts out of the educational system. So many people who actually practice what they want to be and they truly want to serve the world, right? I mean, we all talk about I want to serve the world, I want to do good. And maybe they do actually want to do good, but they're not prepared enough to fight the reality of the world, where SBL is because of its balance out of everything. And I think, I'm connected with I met many alumni. I'm connected with many, current students as well. The very core skill that all of them have is adaptability. I mean, they're open towards everything. They're open towards adapting to any shifts or changes, which the real world and the conventional setting finds it difficult, right, to adapt to a new change because they panic. They're like, oh, what to do now? I mean, we got to find a different way, and then they go in the wrong direction sometimes. But at SVL, it's very cool and calm, and people know what they're doing. They know their direction. It's just that they know that there will be changes coming along the way, so they act accordingly. And I think this is a very, very powerful skill.
Well, Nayeef, thank you for this. And adaptability is certainly one of the important skills, along others, which are so, helpful and useful for everyone to have, because then we can always see in the respective other possibility rather than a threat, right? And this is what we are aiming for. So if this is resonating with you also, if you are looking for an educational system that really shifts, education into a completely new paradigm, then reach out to us, because we are very, happy to guide any student who wants something else from their education and who wants to step into a new era of education. We are happy to welcome you. Thank you for listening. At School Beyond Limitations, we support our students find their unique essence. Feel free to share the content of this podcast with other parents. We are here to show that your children can, indeed, bring their unique essence into life. So, reach out to us if you think that this is what you'd like your daughter, your son to experience, or apply through our website. Also, leave your comments, your questions, or your review about the podcast. Share it with others. And as you know, sharing is caring.